Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our session, Living on Campus at Western Washington University for Fall Advising and Orientation. We're so happy that you can join us today. My name is Dong Vo. I am a Supervising Resident Director here for Beta, Gamma, and Kappa. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I was also a Western Washington University grad in 2010.
Hi, everyone. My name is Edward. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm an Assistant Resident Director here for Western up on the Ridge. I recently graduated from San Jose State University, and I'm about to hit my 1-year mark working at Western, and it's been very exciting. So this is our agenda for today. These are the topics that we will be covering. We're going to be covering topics such as, why you might want to live with university residences here at Western, what you will be getting out of living here on campus, some of the terminology that we use, the staff that we have, and some debunks of myths that you might have heard about, and hopefully give you some guidance as to what to bring for your residential hall experience.
So we want to start out by why live on campus. We've identified a number of things, but these are some of the key things we'd like to highlight. We provide an inclusive and welcome community. You get to experience and engage with so many different identities and people from all around the world and the United States. We also provide a lot of support for personal wellness and professional readiness. You'll hear this ongoing theme about wellness, readiness. Your student is attending Western to get ready for a career or an interest in discovering things about themselves. And we want to make sure that they are doing well while they are exploring those majors and identities and learning about their major. They also have a much better access to campus resources. Just living in the residence halls themselves, you'll have access to free laundry, desk, mail, a whole host of other services and resources, including dining, the library, the gym, counseling services, the health center, and a number of other campus resources that you can find online. But that distance to all of those resources is something that is very beneficial and that we provide to all of our students that live on campus as well. Not to mention the interpersonal connections that you will build while you live on campus. The number of people that you'll be living together with can range anywhere from a few hundred to upwards of 700, 800 people in a community, and you'll be interacting with them, learning with them, and engaging with them. Additionally, we also support and assist students with transitioning to university life. We know that it can be a lot to take in, especially if you're first generation or you've never been to university or college before, but there are a lot of things that go on, and we will be there to help you transition and be successful at the university, whether it's finding out which resources you might want to utilize, helping you create a plan or a guide for your time here, and also trying to facilitate you meeting people and building community and getting to know this place. Which all supports your academic success. One of the key reasons that you're attending a university and college is to learn, and we will provide those resources and have staff that are here to support you and make sure that you are being successful as much as possible.
Some of the benefits of living on campus we wanted to highlight. Similar to what Don was mentioning, you're going to have a lot of staff and a lot of support when you live here on campus. We have student staff that live in the halls that you can go to as a resource. If you have any general questions, if you have conflict, if you have an idea for something that you really want to see happen, there's someone that you can go to for all of that. We're also going to have a lot of programs and events here within the residence halls. Again, they might be focused on your academic success, your professional readiness, your personal growth and development. There's going to be a lot to do, and then some of them are just going to be, what do you want to do this Friday night? Like, let's have a movie night, let's have a hangout, because yeah, you're here, we really want you to get connected. Once again, you're going to have student staff that live in the halls, and they'll be reaching out to you to have engagement one-on-one with you to see how you're doing just personally, and to make sure that you're getting the support that you need and not just doing a blanket assessment of the community, but it's really focused on the individual. And then again, just to make sure that you have everything you need and here within the university. Another way that you can also get involved within the residence halls is that you can be part of the hall council for your hall. So you could be, the president, the vice president, the treasurer of your hall. And these are student leaders that really help decide, like, what does our community need? How can we get people together? You also don't need to have like a position. You can also just attend those meetings and just let those student leaders know, hey, like, I think it'd be great if we did this. Like, this is everything that my friends are doing, and I want to, expand this to the whole community. Then you can also get involved that way if you don't want to have a full-on role. But it is a good way to get leadership experience while you're here in college, and just to make sure that you feel like you're adding to the community. That's a really great way to participate to your residence hall. We're going to be talking a little bit later about our curricular approach and our URISE model, but just to give you a brief introduction, that is just how we frame our connections with students and how we make sure that we hit a lot of the major points of professional readiness, personal wellness, and things like that.
So we mentioned our URISE model, which actually stands for our University Residences Initiative for Student Engagement. This basically outlines our work and our philosophy and what we want students to gain as a result of living on campus. Obviously, we want them to learn and embrace multiple perspectives and engage as members of this diverse and inclusive community. But overall, our learning goals are based in 3 areas, which is building inclusive communities, career preparedness, and personal wellness. This is also grounded in community-based learning and our strengths-based approach and community cultural wealth, which is all to say that we want to look at every individual through a strengths-based lens. Everybody brings something, some skills, some sets of experiences to this community that they can contribute to the community and learn from each other, in that they can support in these 3 main learning goals. As they prepare for their careers, they may be exploring what they want to do long-term and how to apply transferable skills. We also want to focus on that personal wellness. Are we taking care of the facilities? Are we providing them with adequate food and dietary needs for them to be successful? Are we building a community where every single person feels welcome? So every single thing in our work and in our community that we do has to align to these 3 learning goals. In particular, we want our staff to view this as a co-curricular experience. We will have our staff that will engage and interact with students living on campus. Our residence life staff, in particular, our resident advisors, will be touching base with every single resident that lives on campus so that they have a connection, so that they get to have somebody that's grounded and can serve as a resource, particularly as a peer. So we will have staff that will periodically reach out intentionally to have conversations about how they're doing, how prepared they are, what support they need, and to help them navigate and make meaning and make sense of their time living on campus and give them the tools to succeed beyond that. In particular, we know that perhaps roommates might engage and have a roommate conflict. We will be there to give them the tools and the skills so that once they move off campus, they have those tools that they can apply to relationships and communities and to be successful beyond the residence hall. That would be the main difference between living on and off campus, this intentional curricular approach that is designed to have outcomes for students living with us.
Yeah, so you might have been a little confused now that we were talking about curriculum and all these things that are going on within the residence halls, but that is a key component for living on campus. We're going to get into a little bit of why we use certain language when you live here on campus, such as residence halls versus dorm. And then here you can also see Buchanan Towers, which is very beautiful. So we say residence hall because a dorm pretty much has just roots in this is the area in which you sleep. And as you've heard so far, residence hall is a little bit more than that. And we hope that it's more than that. We hope that it's a place where you're building networks and community. You're really getting life skills for off-campus life. You get to interact with a lot of people, and it's really more than just a space for you to sleep. There is no one way to experience college, and so if you want to go to class, go to the residence hall, and then go to your room to study and sleep, that's perfectly fine if that's really what you need for your personal wellness and your academic success. But we want to let you know that there's going to be a lot of points of engagement. We're going to encourage you to branch out and to connect with people, and to really build skills for off-campus life as well. So we call it a residence hall because there's a lot more to do here than just sleep.
Where will you be living? I'm sure that is a major question that you might have. A quick overview of our campus is our residence halls are broken into 3 general regions. There is the North Campus region, which is near the Viking Union. There is the Ridgeway Complex, where Edward and myself will work, which is kind of in the middle of campus. And then there's South Campus, that is on the far side of the campus and includes communities like Fairhaven, Buchanan Towers, and Burnham Woods. Every single community has a mix of traditional hall style and suite style, depending on what your preference is and what your needs are for building and looking for community. There are a lot of options, and we'd recommend that you reach out to one of our staff or look online to see all of the residential options. Additionally, you'll also see that there are themed communities out there as well that you can explore online. We have honors community, we have substance-free community, we have our pride housing. So we have a number of living options for students, and should you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our housing office.
Here in the middle, that picture is kind of like what you would see when you first come into your room here on campus. Each room is going to be equipped with your own bed, your own desk, a chair, and some furniture for your clothing and storage. And then all around that middle picture is just different ways that students have customized their space. You can see that some of these have fridges. There's definitely a lot of decorations so that it makes it feel more like home. I know when I first when I was living on campus as a student, I definitely brought pictures of my family. I brought pictures of things that made me happy, because I was going to be living there all year. So I wanted to be as comfortable as possible and have connections to home. So we really encourage you to take some inspiration from these photos. You know, there's definitely, you don't have to keep it like how it is in the middle. You definitely have a lot of freedom to decorate, rearrange, just communicate with your roommate about how you want the space to look and feel.
We talked about some of the staff that we have working in the residence hall. We have a number of professional staff, professional full-time staff, and student staff that will be working on site to support you all living on campus. So we want to start with some of our student leadership positions. These are our resident advisors and apartment advisors. They are directly living in the residence hall to support any student living on campus. They typically have about 40 to 50 residents that they oversee, and that means that they will connect with those students. They will say hello, they will engage in conversations, they will be kind of like a point resource person. They have been trained, and they have also likely lived on campus themselves and have a lot of wisdom and experience, but they're also there to build community. Many of them have signed up to help other students be successful, and they are often peers that want to engage and want to get to know you and want to make sure that you're having a great experience and getting to know many people in the community. So if you're looking for leadership opportunities, look no further than first at our resident advisors and apartment advisors, who are so knowledgeable about campus resources and a lot of things that will make sure that you'll have a good time here. Additionally, we have inclusion assistants, who are also student positions here to make sure that you are being successful and also promoting and building a diverse and inclusive community. They are there to engage, provide opportunities to engage around conversations of equity and inclusion, program and promote, and make sure that we are also providing peer resources and working towards those values of equity and inclusion in our community. Moving towards our more full-time staff, we have resident directors and assistant directors. Under resident directors, we're broken into 3 kind of tiers as well. So we have supervising resident directors, a resident director, and an assistant resident director, all of which are full-time staff. Those roles depend on which communities you are. So larger communities will have a supervising resident director and an assisting resident director, while the more mid-sized communities will just have a resident director. Either way, the services are going to be the same. We are all here and we supervise and manage the daily operations of the community, meaning we supervise the resident advisors, the apartment advisors, and the inclusion assistants. If you do have any issues with your living space, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to your resident director or full-time staff that's working for those communities. But for the most part, we're there making sure that things are operating smoothly. We may respond to on-call crisis response as needed, but we're also not the only people that are working in the halls. Some of the most important people that you will be seeing on a regular basis are obviously our maintenance and custodial staff. They are so critical to making sure that our communities work and operate well. They make sure that we have all the supplies we need. They make sure that we have a clean and healthy and safe environment. They fix things. They make sure that all things are working well so that we don't have to worry about those things and can focus on our academics and community building. So you will regularly see our maintenance and custodial staff who love to get to know students and be a part of the community as well.
Moving on to some residence hall myths that you might have heard about, whether through that's media or friends. I know as a first generation student myself, when I was going into my first year, I was having a lot of these thoughts. But definitely we want to really address some of these. So for example, if your resident advisor or apartment advisor is talking to you, that means you're in trouble. That is not true. As we mentioned before, they're going to periodically check on you to make sure that you're doing well, that you know about things that are going on. They also just want to be up here as a fellow Western student with you, so they're just going to want to connect. There are times where our staff is on call, so you might get reminded about some of our policies, you might get a notice about something, but that doesn't mean that they want to police you or that they want to do that type of thing. They're just there to hold everyone accountable to make sure that we have a safe and inclusive community. Here at Western, you don't have a curfew for living in the residence halls. We're not going to do bed checks at 9 p.m. or anything like that. We do have some quiet hours so that, you know, you can be mindful of the community that you're living in. You know, we don't want people blasting, you know, their music at 4 a.m. when you have a midterm the next day. So we're definitely going to make sure that the residence hall is a comfortable community, but you don't have to be in bed by 9 p.m. if you don't want to. If something breaks in my room, I'll never be able to get it fixed. We actually have a site that you can use. So if anything breaks in your room, like your blinds, your chair isn't working or anything like that, you can submit a request for our maintenance staff to come in and fix it for you. There's usually no fines associated with this. We would rather have it fixed and you live comfortably than have you move out and then us find it at the end of the year. So we really encourage you to communicate with our staff if anything is broken. I will be best friends with my hallmates and my roommate. So ideally, yes, you would be good friends with whoever is living around you, but conflict can happen. You might not mesh well, and that's totally okay. We will have procedures and practices so that you can all get along and there's little to no conflict, but you don't have to be 100% best friends with everyone in the hall. It's okay. My room is the only place I'll be able to study. If that is the space that you find best to study, that's great. Most communities have study lounges, rec lounges. There's the library not too far. There's different areas on campus that you should be able to find a good study space, a good headspace. We have retail locations such as like little coffee houses around campus. And so you should be able to find a lot of places to study. I'll never spend my entire meal plan. This one fluctuates per person. We have certain swipe plans. And so it's good to really like see like what is being offered. Do you know yourself in regards to, do you need like breakfast every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day? I believe dining does give a little bit of wiggle room. And so if you want to change your meal plan, at the start of each quarter, you can. So it's good to just, pick one, see if that one works. If you need more swipes, if you need less swipes, then just adjust from there. But I think most students end up finding their balance after a quarter or two.
We have some frequently asked questions that we commonly hear from individuals. Who do I contact about general housing questions? Great question. You can go to I'd recommend going to the housing webpage first, so housing.wwu.edu, and seeing if you can find the answers there. You will also find our contact information on that webpage. Housing@wwu.edu is our main housing email. You can also find on our directory and contact page who is overseeing which communities, so you can reach out to the resident director of those communities as well if you have a more specific housing question. But for the most part, you'll be able to find all of your answers for general housing questions on the web page. How do I make friends on campus? Speaking of the residence halls, that is a main place where you will be engaging and meeting and bumping into people. We intentionally put on programs and activities and connect you with people so that you get to try to meet other people that you may not have bumped into. A lot of the residence halls are built in that way where you will get to congregate and meet other people on a daily basis, such as a lounge space where you study, or where in the dining hall are very common places to bump into people. Certainly classrooms where you engage academically with people, but we also have so many clubs on campus for you to explore. You can see all of the clubs online as well, and I'd recommend that you even just attend a few clubs and see if it's for you. At the start of the year, there are so many programs and activities, and I would encourage you all to try all those various activities to try to meet people. As you continue on in your academic career at Western, there's still going to be so many opportunities and sports and clubs and events for you to meet people. What should I do if I have an accessibility request? Really great question. One of the main things you can always do if you're lost on which campus resource to go to is always to talk to your RA or your resident director of those communities. But we also have many resources that you can find online, such as the Office of Disability Resources, Equal Opportunity Office. Many offices, such as the Counseling Center as well, can also refer you to the appropriate resource. So don't be afraid if you're not sure if it's the right resource. Many of us are here to help you. Just reach out and we'll say, great, I can help you in this way. And I'd also recommend that you reach out to some other resources as well. But if you have accessibility needs, whether it's in the residence hall or in the classroom or with testing, I certainly would recommend that you start with the Office of Student Life or the Office of Disability Resources. Can I move my furniture in my room? You can. And you may want to in order to make it your own space and a place to call home. Generally, the rule of thumb is anything that was in the room has to stay in the room. And so if your room came with these beds, those beds need to stay in the room. That desk, that chair needs to stay in the room. You can add more chairs, you can add more desks if you would like, but that type of furniture really needs to stay in the room. What's in the room, you can move around. But you should be very careful because some of those pieces of furniture can be quite large and quite heavy. Does every residence hall cost the same to live in? It does not. Generally, our billing is based on the occupancy of the room. So a double room would cost the same across the board. A triple room would be a little cheaper than a double, and then the single room would be the most costly. You can find all of those costs online as they shift year to year and quarter by quarter as well. But the biggest influences on your costs would be how many occupants are supposed to be assigned to that type of room and your meal plan. How do you get your mail? We have a central mail services on campus where all mail is delivered. And then that mail services warehouse will then sort out the mail and deliver it to all the various departments, buildings, and residence halls on campus. Every community you live in will have a main front desk where they sort the mail. And so your mailbox may be there or it may actually be closer in your building, depending on the type of community that you're living in. But for the most part, your mail will be near the front desk, and your packages that are too large to fit in your mail box will be at the front desk, and you will receive email notification when a package arrives. Overall, sometimes people will want to send flowers and special gifts directly to the room. We generally discourage that, or try to encourage people to say that people will meet deliveries such as flower personally, rather than enter the residence hall, which is mainly private for residents that are living there. Can I bring a pet? Currently, our policy allows for fish in small water tanks. And you can find the information for that in our community standards on the housing webpage. But beyond fish, we do not allow anything unless it is a service animal or an approved emotional support animal. You can certainly get more information or start the process to get an emotional support animal through our Office of Disability Resources as well. And what if you want to switch rooms? Talk to one of your staff members that lives in your halls. Someone like myself or Edward, the resident director, assistant resident director, will get that process started for you. Please note that it is based on availability and based on your requests and your needs. And so it is not necessarily a first come, first served basis, because if you're only wanting to move into a particular community but no rooms are available in that community, you might have to wait a little bit longer than another individual.
All right, moving on to some roommate information. In a regular year, when it's safe to do so, and we have the occupancy for it, you may be paired with roommates and or suite mates, depending on what style you have. Roommates are requested either by you through the housing process, or they're assigned to the roommate profile that you've filled out. We want to ensure that the first roommate you have is hopefully the best match based on the information provided. You can contact your roommate beforehand if you do have one, or if you have suite mates. We encourage you to do this just so that you can start that line of communication. You can set some expectations about, what living in the residence hall is going to look like. And as you saw, like some rooms have mini fridges and TVs and microwaves. Sometimes it's best to communicate who's going to bring what. That doesn't mean you have to bring all these things, but you may not want doubles of everything. But at the same time, you may want your own. And so you can let your roommate know that you'll be bringing a mini fridge, but you have plans to utilize it to its fullest extent. So if they need one, they should consider getting one for themselves. And that's totally fine. We also encourage you all, once you arrive, to fill out a roommate agreement. This kind of sets the expectations for the room in regards to, what time is it appropriate for sleep time? What time is it for study time? This is a shared space that you're going to be in for a whole academic year. And so we want to make sure that you have those conversations so that you're comfortable in that space, because it is your space, but it's shared with somebody else. We want to make sure that everyone in the room is academically successful, is comfortable, feels safe. And so if you have these conversations early and adjust as you go, it's typically a better living experience. If you're having any conflict that you feel like you are having roadblocks in, that's when you can also involve your resident advisor, your apartment advisor, or your hall director, depending on who you're comfortable going to. But we definitely encourage you all to have open line of communications with your roommates or suite mates to make sure it's as comfortable as possible to share that space.
Couple do's and don'ts. Do bring pillows and beddings. Just FYI, our beds are twin extra large. We also have many stores in town if you need to get some of those materials. Certainly laundry detergent. We don't require, it's not entirely necessary that you bring a mini fridge or microwave, but usually it is a very helpful and common thing that students bring if they have leftovers or they need to reheat pizza or something like that. But that, like Edward had said, it's recommended that you really do communicate if you have a roommate as to who's bringing what and what you're willing to share or not share. Do bring towels. You might want to bring shower shoes as well if you are in a community restroom. And then really anything that will help personalize your space and make it home and make it your own. Make you feel welcomed and a place that you feel happy to come back to after class every day. Things we don't recommend that you bring. We don't recommend that you bring candles, incense, or anything with an open flame. We are cognizant of fire hazards in our community, and so things like that may put the community at risk of having a fire. Same thing with hot plates. We don't recommend any weapons. If you have questions on what may or may not be constituted as a weapon, we'd recommend that you reach out and ask us. We don't want you to bring any non-university mattresses or modify your bed in any way. What is provided for you, you really should use there, and space heaters as well. Now, if you are in a space where you feel like it is too cold or something like that, please, again, feel free to reach out to our staff so that we can explore what may be causing heat issues, or we can try to find accommodations for you as well. There are a whole host of other things that we ask that students read and abide by, called our community standards, which also list a number of other prohibited items and expectations that everybody is expected to follow. So down at the bottom, you can see there is a link to our community standards. It's on our housing webpage. You can always Google WWU Housing Community Standards, and it will lead you right to that place, which includes many policies around alcohol, drugs, pets, and a number of other things, as well as the process of what happens when a policy or expectation is not being met.
Here at Western, we have 3 residence hall dining locations. Their goal is to, provide healthy options for you to be eating at, make sure that they're inclusive food options, and then just have enough to feed everyone here at Western. They have a lot of resources that you can utilize to see what the menus are at each location prior to going, and also if there's anything that you kind of want to know about, such as like the nutrition guide or anything of that sort, you can go to www.campusdish.com. The 3 main locations that we have for dining are in the Fairhaven Hall, the Ridge Commons, and then the Viking Commons as well. So here in this slide, you can see the Viking Commons, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it is. They just got remodeled, and so it looks really nice. So you'll have options for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's buffet style when you go in. There's also have to-go options. If you aren't feeling well, you can always get those as well. We really encourage you to contact the dining staff if you have any food allergens or any special dietary needs that you want to communicate to that staff. If you're not seeing food options that really will sustain you and will really give you that energy that you need to be a successful Western student, we hope that you can contact dining at www.edu. And they're really open to hearing what students need, what students are feeling that is missing from the dining halls. And so we have a dietitian, and we also have, head chefs at every location. And so we encourage you to reach out if you really needed something different than what's being offered. We also have different retail locations that you can either utilize Viking dollars, dining dollars, or just regular cash in hand. There's Subway, there's Panda Express, there's different Starbucks on campus. And these are all areas that you can go if you want a quick bite or if you want a break from the dining hall. They're spread out across campus, and so usually no matter where you live, you should have access to some sort of retail location, or it's a good break from the residence hall if you want to go for a walk with a friend to go get Starbucks. You'll see a lot of students do that throughout the day. Some residence halls have what's called a pod market within the residence hall. So if you want to buy like some quick snacks or some small items for your mini fridge and microwave, the BT station has a small market that you can go to just quickly for a midnight snack.
So all that to say is that we're excited for you to move in and live with us. These are certainly move-in day pictures. So you can see that a lot of students are moving their stuff in and excited. We're excited for you to be a part of this community and the Western community. Also, you should know if you've never lived in the Pacific Northwest that the weather can sometimes be unpredictable, especially on move-in day. So as you move in, we encourage you to make sure that you do probably bring a rain jacket or umbrella just in case you might need it as well. We will try to coordinate move in and send you more materials, particularly as it pertains to if you have a particular move in time and date as well. But once you arrive, you can get settled in, and you'll certainly see staff around that will assist and answer any questions. And so we're really excited for you to join our community and be a part of the Western Washington University Vikings. If you do have any questions, please go to our website, housing.wwu.edu, and you'll also find our email, housing@wwu.edu. So have a good day, and thank you. Please reach out to us if you do have any questions. Have a good day.
Thank you.